Hi, I'm Sean,
I'm Rhonda.
and we'd like to talk with you today about noticing your spouse.
So bids are the little things that we do where we expect a response.
You know, it can be just something as simple as a statement that your spouse made and they're waiting for you to connect with them about. Maybe they looked in your way and they're looking for you to notice that they saw you.
Right. So it might be a bid for a comment from you. What if your spouse said something and you didn't respond at all?
You know, it's just little things like that that make us feel connected with our spouse throughout the day and make us feel like we're tracking together.
Right. So if your spouse makes eye contact, smiles at you, makes a comment, responding to that bid has a lot to say about the health of the relationship, and it can make your spouse feel either ignored or unimportant or very valuable and priceless to you.
You know, if you're around each other during the day, whatever amount that is, you know, you want to see your spouse, not just treat them like they're a fly on the wall, you know, they're just another object in the room. We need to pay attention and really notice and see them. Making eye contact is really huge.
And so in healthy marriages, Dr. John Gottman discovered over his decades of research that in healthy marriages, spouses turn toward rather than away from their spouse's bids. So what does turning toward a bid mean? It means I respond in kind with whatever that bid, for whatever attention level it was, and I return that to my spouse.
You know, it's responding in a positive way. If your spouse makes a glance or look at you, or they smile at you, and you respond back in a positive way.
So paying attention to what the other person is doing. We have to be aware, right, that our spouse even looked in our direction, to be able to look back and smile. And then we respond positively. This builds trust in the relationship.
You know, I think it's exciting to see when you look at research of newlywed couples that they've done, those that remained married were turning toward their spouse's bids 87% of the time.
And those who didn't remain married were only turning toward their spouse about 33% of the time. And so what we want you to realize about bids is these are not the big things.
Yeah.
These are the little things.
Yeah.
And they sort of set the trajectory for the relationship.
You know, it's just made up of the little things every day, a failed bid for connection. Each day we're looking to connect with our spouse in little ways, and when those bids fall to the ground and we feel like, wow, you didn't see me, you didn't notice me, you didn't hear the little comment that I made, that's a failed bid.
Right. And you know, most arguments they found have to do with a person not feeling that their bid was noticed. Now, we don't say, oh, I just made a bid and you missed my bid, unless we're aware of this, of course. But we feel, in one way or another, we feel ignored. We feel not noticed. And when we were dating, we felt noticed. We felt the other person paid attention. But then after we get married, sometimes that kind of falls to the wayside and people can start feeling neglected. So this is kind of what bids, whether we meet them or not, is all about.
You know, you look at most of the romance that's set up in movies that you watch, the beginning of it is just that one person notices maybe the other person across the room and their eyes caught, or maybe some tiny little thing happened, but it's set up in such a way that you think, wow, something's budding, a relationship is beginning, and it's usually over very small things. This is exactly what we're talking about.
So when we connect with our spouse's bids, they don't feel taken for granted. But when we ignore those things, we take them for granted. We come across that way. And I think one thing that's important to realize is that when marriages are struggling, the little things are going unnoticed, and they've built into bigger things.
You know, it's things like this that make your spouse feel appreciated and valued and important.
So when we're meeting our spouse's bids, it has that cementing effect because it says, I'm there for you. And so it builds trust. I can depend on you to care about what's going on with me because you're caring about the little things. If I look in your direction, you're looking back. If I smile at you, you smile. It says I'm noticing you and you matter.
Man, that is so important. I think that just feeling like our spouse sees us, this could, I think, be simplified just saying, I see you.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing. I notice you.
And sometimes we can overlook a bid when it's expressed negatively. What if our spouse feels frustrated because they've brought something up repeatedly with no response to that bid? Well, when you hear that, you're going to be tempted to respond negatively or to maybe just not engage at all. Well, that's a failed bid. And a failed bid is a bid that wasn't met positively. So turning toward or turning against, it has to do with the degree to which we turn toward and the degree to which we turn against. And so let me take a minute to just kind of explain that. So if I turn toward, let's say that Sean smiles at me and I return a smile, but let's say that I not only return a smile but I also hug and kiss Sean in response, then I more positively and more enthusiastically responded. But let's say that Sean makes a comment, wow, do you hear the birds chirping out there? And I don't even respond. That'd be turning against. But then if I say, who cares about the birds chirping? That would be really enthusiastically
Negative.
turning, negatively turning against. So there's degrees to which we turn toward or turn against. And so we could really more extremely turn against when our spouse presents something that's negative. But we would present to you that if that happens, dig a little deeper. Yeah. Don't be turned aside by the surface presentation, but seek that heart out.
Yeah, I think next time you have some level of conflict in your relationship, search and see, is there a failed bid? Has my spouse been looking for me to connect with them? Have they made a bid for attention from me and I didn't connect with them? I didn't notice them.
Or did I just connect with the delivery of the bid and then totally rejected the bid itself?
We can get really distracted by the way our spouse delivered their message and miss the attention that they were trying to get from us.
And so while definitely the presentation is important, it's actually huge. But the fact is, we shouldn't let ourselves get all tripped up in it. Our spouse is trying to say something. And usually when something negative is being said, it's a cry from the spouse's heart. And will I hear that? Or will I disregard it because of the way they said it?
Yeah.
How many times do we say something poorly? Do we want to be disregarded because it wasn't perfect?
Right.
Or would we hope the other person would put out the effort? Wait, now that sounds really overwhelming and negative to me, but I really want to catch that message.
Yeah.
Could you try it again so I can maybe hear what you're saying?
You know, we need to know what are the things that make us miss our spouse's bid for attention. What are some of those things?
So electronics, being distracted with other things that are going on can pull our attention away. Having our thoughts on ourselves or something else, not really giving that focus, can cause us to miss it when it happens.
You know, I think for men, a lot of times it can be work. There can be things that you have your mind on and you don't make that separation from, wait a minute, I need to notice my spouse and get my mind off of that.
Right, and we need to be able to talk about our bids. And this would be a healthy conversation to have. What kind of bids do you make toward me? What do they look like? Do I miss any? What are the ones I'm missing?
Yeah.
Because if I can be aware that I'm missing some bids, then I can catch it and start connecting with those bids. Or if it's safe enough in our marriage to be able to say, I just looked at you and I felt totally ignored. You didn't even acknowledge, or, I just made a comment and you didn't say anything. Sometimes our spouse isn't aware they did it, and it is a polite thing to let them know.
Yeah. You know, what we're talking about is just how a marriage is made up of daily events, little things every day, and these things can make your relationship go from average to above average or exceptional, is just by connecting over little things. These can be just daily events, normal everyday things,
Right.
but your connection with your spouse makes it special.